Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Record Breakers. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me, as always, is my crew, my team. We've got Brett.
Bone.
We've got Patrick. And we've got Drew.
Hey.
We're here, of course. Like every week, we are sharing music. We do our thing, sharing music with each other, doing our little book club for music thing called Record Breakers, discussing, talking, doing the thing. The one providing the music this week is Drew. Drew, what do you got for us this week?
Well, seeing as how the summer has been going thus far, and into the fall, and into, well, let's not talk about football. We won't go farther than the fall. I had to bring something from Cleveland, Ohio. So I decided to go with what by many is considered one of the better musical acts come out of Cleveland, especially in hip hop. And that's East 1999 Eternal from Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Nice way to close out our sequel to Hip Hop Month. I'll start with Brett.
Hip Hop Month 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
That's not good expectations.
Sorry.
Gosh, it's not that bad.
Did you take in a bad hit? Because
this album is for bud smokers only, and
I'm a butt smoker, all right.
Bread.
No, I'm very familiar with this album. I was exposed to this quite a bit. I never really dug deep into it. I mean, I was familiar with most of the singles. There were a couple songs that got pounded into my head thanks to music television. But no, for like I had some idea what I was in for, but not much.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Probably less familiar than Brett. Like I know who Bone Harmony are, a song or two.
Where, Patrick? Where are you, Patrick?
Am I?
I can hear you, but you're off in the distance.
Apparently my audio.
You're very, very quiet.
You're coming through clear, but just quiet.
Just quiet.
How is that?
There you
Is that
go.
any better?
Yeah.
Apparently my mic is quiet.
All right. What were your expectations?
So less familiar than Brett, but still, familiar with the group and sort of the general sound. And I think everyone over the age of 28's heard First of the Month at least once in their life. Was kind of there for a while. So I've heard a little bit, but this was my first time really digging into them.
Mm-hmm. Drew. I'll do it now. Drew, I must apologize to you because due to my putting off posting our last couple of episodes by a week due to like being busy and lazy. Due to that, if it wasn't for that, this episode would have been released on the first of the month.
Oh man.
Unfortunately, that's all my fault, and I apologize to you for that. But yeah, musical style. How would you describe this album musically?
Funny happenstance. No, but Bone Thugs and Harmony is sort of known in rap and hip hop for that last word in their name. Harmony. In rap, in hip hop, the rapping, I should say, is usually done for rhythmic effect. You're doing the rhyming scheme based all on rhythm, right? Bone Thugs and Harmony has a lot of singing style to it. It is a unison rapping done with actual surprise pitch. There's a lot of like sing J style to a lot of it as well. And that adds something really kind of cool to the style. Lyrically, they're they were discovered by Eazy-E. So if you understand Eazy-E and NWA and like that era of hip hop, you're not getting something lyrically that's super far removed, but it has a little twinge different. The Since the rhyme schemes also utilize harmonies, the beats have this utilize this more foreboding tone to them, which is really kind of cool, and it lends this difference to the record itself, which is really nice. You have things like the normal gangster rap tropes: drugs, death, dealing, gang banging, living poor in the inner city, but it takes this more foreboding tone at times. Whereas some other artists are more jubilant in certain things. I feel like, and we'll get into which songs I feel like do that the best.
Yeah.
But this takes a very like downtrodden, like, yeah, no, like this is who we are. We're not going to shy away from it, but there's also something like a little darker about it, which I think is kind of cool to what Bone Thugs' sound is.
Yeah. Like a couple episodes we mentioned nerdcore adjacent with Watsky. You would say with Bone Thugs, they were horrorcore adjacent.
Yeah.
Like
Before like horrorcore was like a big thing. Like
yeah.
they were utilizing piano
Them
and
Ghetto Boys.
sound effects that were very much like if you took their rapping out of it, there are parts of the beat that like you could just plop into a 90s like horror movie and it would very much fit.
Brett, what would be the themes elements that caught your attention on this record?
I will piggyback off of that and say there is some straight up Castlevania music in this. But
Eternal Champions to be exact.
There's something about Bone Thugs that you make it so you immediately know it's them. It's I would call myself a rap music outsider. So this is sort of an exercise in trying to find words for things that I don't really know the words to the things. But what you get is the complementary meter and vocal harmonies and whatnot. The backing track sometimes not just straight up video game sound of music, but there's some solid R&B grooves. Lyrically, the themes, I mean, you kind of guess, like there's not as a huge depth of what they're going with here with lyrically, but it's reflective of its time and its place. When we start getting into individual tracks, we can start picking that all apart.
The days of their lives, as you might say. Hey ho.
Hey, there you go. Patrick, what would be the themes elements that caught your attention?
So when I was listening to this, I'm like, I don't think anything that I've heard before it in hip hop. I'm not an expert on hip hop, but I've listened to probably a pretty good sampling of it over its history. I'm not sure there's much that ever sounded like Bone Thugs before Bone Thugs, and I'm not sure enough sounded like Bone Thugs after them. Like there are more melodic people in hip hop, but the combination of the way that sort of the specific rhythm to their rapping and the actual like use of pitch and melody is something I don't think ever really found its place any other time in hip hop quite like this. The music's pretty darn good. It's like this is kind of the golden age of hip hop, like the sort of early to mid 90s when you've got reality rap / gangster rap, G-funk, all sorts of good stuff happening in sort of this 4 or 5 year period, and this is kind of right in the heart of it. And it is kind of a little bit unique and different than some of that. There's also, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about specific tracks. about anything but being like strong and tough and all this. And like you got a song on here which I'm sure at least someone else will talk to beyond me about, like Crossroads, which is like this really heartfelt send up of people they've lost, and it's emotion and it's like feelings, and like this is not a time where rap had these sort of feelings very often. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. But there's also like, songs about smoking a lot of weed, which is, a rap thing that happens very often. So yeah, all of those things.
Yes, I'm going to have to apologize to you, Patrick, because I may have cut you off for a little few seconds, but I don't think anything was lost. I may have
nothing's
excitedly
ever lost. If my voice is cut out, I don't say anything important.
it was a moment. It's just that my basketball team may have just taken the lead on the Spurs, and I threw my hands up and went and affected the sound. I got a little excited.
Sports might be happening as we're recording this show.
Yes.
Just gonna put it out there. Sports.
Yes. All right. But yeah, so let's talk about some key tracks. I know you kind of touched on like going into the different tracks. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
Well, I'm actually going to skip the introduction, even though it's a good introduction. But I'm going to skip the introduction because I want to talk about East 1999. This to me is one of those perfect like sort of slices of what a band is about. If you like, you can pluck certain songs from certain bands on any album and just give it to somebody and be like, this is sort of a microcosm of what they are. And I think East 1999 is that. The rhyme schemes utilize great harmonies between the different members of the group. The beat hits hard, but the piano has this effect that wouldn't make it out of place in a horror movie. The lyrics are... It's about something real yet horrific, and there's plenty of references to Cleveland, 99th Street, St. Clair, the corner therein, and all that sort of stuff. So it's Bone Thugs. It's Bone Thugs to a T. I want to bring up Crept We Came. I brought up the sort of Sing J sort of style before, excuse me. And I think the third verse, the verse that is Lazy Bones verse, brings this to a sort of front really well. Sing J style is a sung style that the words are very much elongated, not for the fact of holding the note through a melody, but to hold the note through a rhythm instead. And I think Lazy Bones' third verse in this sort of exemplifies that really, really well. And the lyrics in it, like, this is their album where like they got picked up by Eazy-E. They knew they were getting out of it, but like at the same time they knew like what they learned like in Cleveland and like on the streets, like that sort of paranoia and you always have to watch out for yourself is even more so important here when they could be robbed blind not only of their present but their future if they make a bad deal or somebody does them the wrong way in this, and it could be just as bad for them as if they were shot on the corner of 99th and St. Clair. Oh, look, that came back again. Weird.
Yeah.
And then we get to the song that I think like everybody knows, and the one that Patrick brought up, the Crossroads. Like Crossroads is a classic rap song for sure. It's made tons of like top lists of all-time great hip-hop songs, and for good reason. I think, like Patrick said, it is a send-up of people they have lost, people, family members. Eazy-E is who this song is actually dedicated to in the liner notes by name, and it's about like missing them because they know that they were important to what they achieved, and it's not a glorious life out there all the time, the life that they led before they became famous, and they understand that, and losing so many how they did is why they know that. And it's a somber song. It's just like Swagger said, it's a heartfelt move, and it's a rough thing. And that sort of Crossroads is one of those songs that anybody, I think, can listen to after they've lost somebody and like get it.
Yeah. Yeah, those are iconic songs. That is an iconic song, to say the least. Brett, what are some of the key tracks for you?
I'm gonna have to thank First of the Month for giving me the closest thing to a sproing that this album can give me. A true Cleveland staple. Every morning, everybody gets up from their roosters. Roosters, common city dwelling creature. Thank you, Rooster Noise. You made me smile. But yeah, this, First of the Month was the lead single off the album. It's got that hot synth wave and the keyboard and drums. You gotta enjoy that. The themes of the lyrical content speaks for itself. It's only the most important things. Yeah, but I also liked East 1999 because it has that, like I was saying, pulled from a Castlevania backing track music going on with the bells and the keys and I was expecting to end up in the inverted castle. But it also has that round robin feel that tastes great and never fills you up. And Crossroads, I guess, it's the song that got beaten to my brain, like that lasted way longer than the other songs because people kept dying in hip hop, so they kept playing this song.
Yeah.
It was one of those where they pounded on heavy rotation on MTV, and long after that, in radio play. And the thing that I haven't watched the music video because I want it to stay pure in my brain as what it is in my brain. But I think there's some really bad CG effects and a really bad CG effect of Eazy-E's face coming out of the clouds or something.
Yeah.
There's the that effect,
Easy,
and there's also
holding a baby or something.
there's the Grim Reaper throughout the entire video, which is just long leather trench coat, black guy in like dark shades and like a hat that just keeps like disappearing through people like constantly through the video, which is pretty fantastic. It's a great video.
Yeah.
Oh
I might go back just to because it's
Damn, that was nasty.
the 90s hip hop albums like go off on a very tiny tangent. Like there was that time where like everybody was shooting at super low frame rates and it was all skippy like your Busta Rhymes and your Missy Elliott videos.
I
go back
can't
and see what
stand
those.
green.
But I want to see those and see what they look like these days. But then I also I like we don't quite yet have the technology to make good digital effects, but we're gonna make them anyway. I do enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
The obvious ones, First of the Month. Like I said before, this style of vocal delivery is so unique, and I kind of wonder why no one tried to copy this, because as all of us know, most music is in some way, let's take a thing from one thing and copy it and then do something else slightly different. And now it's all of a sudden new again. I'm amazed no one has really effectively copied this vocal style, because it's really, really cool. As Brett said, there's some G-Funk synth, square wave in there. Got to make me happy with that. And just a solid hook, which is a thing rap songs need. Crossroads will beat that horse to death. It's a great song, and it's one that I think Drew sort of alluded to. It's like something that everyone can kind of identify with, whether you're into hip hop or not. It is just a song about the people you've lost and caring about them. Land of the Heartless had a really, really cool hook. And it was the vocal delivery on it was really, really good. And like if you want to really showcase what Bone Thugs style is, I think that's a good one. it also really, and this sort of is true of most of the record, is I like the everybody gets a verse sort of style of hip hop where, you get 3 or 4 different vocals, vocal stylings in the same track. And that's a really good example of it. And then because of the content more than anything, Buddha Lovas, which is a slow jam about weed. Not like a slow jam that happens to be about, no, it's like literally a love song to pot. It is like if you replace all the pot references with a girl's name, it's the same song. It's so great. It's like the Faith Plus One, write a song, replace the girl stuff with Jesus, and you make a Christian rock song. This is take a slow jam, replace every reference to a girl with weed, and you make this song, and it's great because of it.
Yeah, this record, I believe, referenced cocaine once. I believe they said the word yayo once. They talked about weed
Tony?
in like multiple
Every other track.
permutations in like
Yeah.
everything.
Hey, that music had not gone on to the point where people were buying tanks yet.
Yes.
Correct.
No. Yeah. No. Yeah.
No Limit Soldier.
Yes. They did love themselves some marijuana. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn to have some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what will be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
I mean, if you've made it, I guess, if you're our age collectively and you haven't heard this, like, do yourself a favor and plug in your holes. But if you're starting, if you're building from the ground up and you aren't an old geezer, go dig this up. If you haven't, it's a time and a place kind of album, and it's something that is different from what you would get with the contemporaries. It's not probably going to rock your world if you're not into hip hop to begin with, but it's at least worth looking at. It's an investment with your ears, and your brain bank.
Yeah. Patrick, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album?
Oh, this was a fun one. I think sort of the way Brett said it, it's an interesting album in its genre. It's unique. It's not. You can listen to most albums from this genre, from this time period, and this sort of corner of hip hop, and they do all kind of sound the same. But this doesn't. This sounds unique because of the way they did their vocals and the way they worked, harmony and sort of that, that sort of vibe into their rapping. It's a good one. I think it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a well received and well loved classic for a reason. There's a lot that it invokes. There's a lot that it kind of innovated in just in a couple of things in delivery and flow, and they did harmonies, but they weren't doing it like the old timey way like Jurassic 5 did, recently. They had their own unique thing. They were still speaking, some truths about, life in the hood. And it's a class. It's a well worth a listen, at least once. And especially if you are if you purport to love hip hop, this is something you should have listened to. Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts?
Well, there was 2 albums I was thinking about when we could have done, or we were discussing doing Hip Hop Month 2, which turned into Hip Hop Month 2 Month 2.
Yes.
Electric Boogaloo. And it was this album, and it was Lil Dicky, Professional Rapper. And the reason I went with this one is because I think this one's a lot more musically dense. There's a lot more going on in this record. Yeah, it's still a hip-hop record, and if you hate hip-hop, there might not be much there for you, but I still think there's something interesting that Bone Thugs brings to the table. And they still bring it to the table every once in a while. When Lazy Bone decides to be in the group again. Things notwithstanding. But it's something that's just, I think, a really well-made package. and it's something inventive and it's something different, and it brought something new to the table that I don't think is. Patrick said it hasn't been done like this at the same clip since, and I think that's really cool. And they're from my neck of the woods, which I can't really complain about that.
Yep. Represent Cleveland proudly, which is really cool. But yeah, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 Eternal, or as Spotify calls it, East Eternal 1999.
That's right. Formats. It's great.
Good job.
Thanks,
Your
Spotify.
winner is you. But yeah, those are our thoughts on East 99 Eternal. Now we get to our main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. We get to sum it all up in haiku form. Let's see. I'm gonna switch things up. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Unique rhymes and flow from hip hop's golden era. It's enjoyable.
Brett, what is your haiku?
I'm out of touch, guys. My understanding is low. I still enjoyed this.
My haiku: harmonic rapping and unique flow makes these guys eternal champions.
I was hoping harmonica rapping. I wanna see some harmonica.
Get
harmonica
get John Popper to back Bone Thugs and Harmony on the next record.
Beatboxing through a harmonica. Is great idea.
But yeah, Drew, what is your haiku?
The biggest product to shine the light on Cleveland. The land still loves them.
Yeah. And those are our thoughts on Bone Thugs and Harmony's East 1999 Eternal. Yeah.
So hot, it's gonna catch your lake on fire.
Exactly. Those are our thoughts. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. You just follow along. Just try to keep that updated. Like I said, I have a Google Calendar reminder to make sure I keep it updated. So do it for y'all. On next week's episode, next week's album is not going to be on Spotify, unfortunately, but it will be on Vinyl, BAINIL, or you can look for it on the internet. It's probably in a couple other places. We're going Korean indie again, which you could probably infer. It's usually what happens when it's me and it's not on Spotify and you have to go somewhere else. We're talking Life and Time, Land. Speaking of the land, Lifetime Land. So enjoy that discussion next week. Do Korean indie again, which I'm excited about. But yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, not that indie.
No. You can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at Swagger. Brett is at HeyBeautyBearbird, HIBBI2IBIBBARD. Drew is at Extra I'm a PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube, Twitch. Follow us, iTunes, Stitcher, all over the place. Like, share. Do all the things. The Heat are in a tight game with the Spurs right now, and I'm freaking out dating this recording. I'm sorry. But until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Annyeong.